Good morning, everybody. Hey, I had a request from a viewer to talk more about the differences between combed and hand vermiculation, and in particular, could I demonstrate hand vermiculation the way I do it? I've got some decoys here from my own collection. I want to go through some close-up shots of those birds to show you hand vermiculated versus combed, and then I'll do a brief video demonstrating how I do hand vermiculation, and I hope that's helpful. Again, if these videos are helpful to you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that. That way, any new content I add, you'll get notification of that. So thanks, and let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at some combed vermiculated birds compared to some hand vermiculated birds. Before I get started, a little shout out to my son Jack, who got me this nifty Christmas present, an overhead phone mount so that I could do this type of overhead view. This is a gunning bird that I did a long time ago, 1991, so it's been around a long time, but you can see it's a combed vermiculation on this bird, and I used a comb similar to this. Basically pull through the underlying paint, and I did a video specifically on how to comb vermiculation. If you haven't seen that, go take a look, because that shows you beginning to end how to generate this type of combed vermiculation. So that's an older bird. Here's a little more refined version of that. This is a Rick Johansson cork gunning bird. Was a champion bird at the Chesapeake Challenge. And you can see this is pretty simple combing, but very effective in the look of the decoy. So that's a gunning bird. Here's a little more refined version of that. This would be a competition bird, and this again is a Rick Johansson bird. You can see the combing is a little more refined. Beautiful job on that Drake redhead. Just does a great job. It's combing really does a fantastic job in a quick way, simulating vermiculation. Here's another combed bird. This is from John Jones, another world champion, and you can see this is a Drake green wing. Beautiful combing, tight combing job on that, on the cape, blending into the scapulars. And just one more example of a combed bird. This, in my opinion, is kind of state-of-the-art in terms of combing, and this is another Rick Johansson bird done with a super tight comb. But take a look at what Rick has been able to achieve with the combing on that bird. This was another championship competition bird, but just beautiful detailed combing. Really hard to beat that even with hand vermiculation. Most people could not hand vermiculate as well as he's combed this beautiful hen canvasback. So that kind of shows you from, rough combing to refined combing. Now let's take a look at hand vermiculated birds. This is one of the favorite birds I have in my collection, Jimmy Vizier, legendary carver from Louisiana. And Jimmy was normally hand vermiculated his birds, and you can see what a beautiful job he did on this Drake pintail. Just beautiful work. This is my bird, and it's hand vermiculated. And I'm going to show you a little piece of a video where I'm hand vermiculating this bird, just so you can see it in action. but hours and hours of work to do that type of hand vermiculation. Now just one more hand vermiculated bird. This is a Jet Bernay, multiple time world champion, beautiful gadwall. I think Jet, in my opinion, does hand vermiculation better than anybody in terms of generating a soft look. Just a beautiful, soft paint job on his hand vermiculated birds. So now let's move to just a quick demonstration on how I do hand vermiculation. I just wanted to show a quick series of shots to show you how hand vermiculation is done. I've got a very sharp pointed detail brush, and I'm creating a series of rows, basically dots next to each other, and doing some zigs and zags to create patterns in that vermiculation like you would see on the live bird. It's very meticulous work. You just have to go at this slowly. And as you can see, I've already done some underlying highlighting of the feather, and I'm not going to go through that in detail here, but what that does is once you lay in the vermiculation, it gives you a little feather structure look that is showing through that vermiculation. So it does look like feathers on the bird as opposed to just a bunch of lines. So take your time, and hand vermiculation like this takes hours and hours. The results are beautiful, but it takes quite a bit of effort to do this as opposed to the combing that I demonstrated in the previous video. Here I'm working towards the front of the decoy, and the feathers get smaller as they get close to the breast there, and then working on the scapulars now. So that gives you a good idea of how I go about doing hand vermiculation. Hopefully that's helpful to see it in a video. All right, in this morning's video, we took a look at hand vermiculation versus comb vermiculation. If you haven't checked it out, I did a previous video on combing vermiculation, and in today's video, I had a request to demonstrate hand vermiculation. So hopefully that's been helpful. And then you can choose which technique you want to use. We've seen some beautiful examples of both techniques. And depending on the intended use of the decoy or your carving, if it's going on the mantle, you may want to invest the time it takes to do a hand vermiculation job. If it's going in the gunning sack, you may want to comb the bird. The beauty of it, you have both techniques and you can use it as you see fit. So this is Tom Christie signing off from Ashland, Nebraska. Again, I hope this video has been helpful, and good carving to all of you.